Yeah.
That type of thing?
Mm.
So, questions 1 through 6 are on this area. So you may need like opposites. Anterior, what's that? Posterior, anterior, front, back. All right. How about the planes, like sagittal?
It's sagittal.
With what? What should come to mind when you hear sagittal? Yeah, but what halves are we creating?
Left and
Yeah,
right.
left and right. Left and right. Right. What other things? What are some directional orientations that are opposite of each other?
Proximal distal.
All right, proximal, distal. All right, distal.
Superior, inferior.
Superior and inferior. All right. So would you be able to recognize if we gave you some that were not opposite, such as superior and anterior, or dorsal and medial, right? Things like that. So these are all multiple choice, so, and we're trying to keep it more general. We're assuming that the more the specific things were covered during the unit that it was actually presented to you. Okay, so just keep that in mind. There are 80 questions. Yeah.
He told us there was 100 yesterday.
Well, we decided that 100 might be challenging for the time frame.
I bet you we get 100 questions.
Yeah, but
He'll switch the test.
No, I made him his copy, so.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right, so you know the cavities of the body, like thoracic cavity, cranial cavity.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, so cavities. So cavities such as cranial. What's that? Yeah, this is the brain. Right. How about thoracic? What's that refer to?
The thorax.
Yeah, but which?
That was a lifesaver.
For other
Chest
people?
area.
Lungs,
Yeah, the
heart.
chest, lungs, heart. Right?
Did you give this to your students?
Yeah, it was in, yeah, some of them took them, but I would say that if we're really comprehensive between now and 3 o'clock when I have to leave, you'll be fine with just getting this information.
Okay.
Yeah, let's keep going.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right?
you so much for that.
You're welcome. So that kind of covers your first 6 questions.
Cool.
Oh, I missed it.
Oh,
Sure,
darn.
you can copy mine.
All right. Does anybody know where where blood cells are made? Okay. You know what body system that is?
This. Are you talking about the marrow or the bones?
Skeletal?
Skeletal.
Okay.
Good
That's the
job.
first 6 questions. B. Second set is tissues. All right. So what you're going to have, do y'all remember, what are the 4 types of tissues?
Epithelial.
Okay, epithelial,
Good job.
connective, what's them? Muscular, nerve. So if you were to see a picture of each, would you recognize them?
No. So what were the
Epithelial, connective, muscular, nerve. You can kind of conjure up in your mind a visual of
If I
each.
looked over the pictures tonight,
Yeah, I
I'd be
feel
able to
like-
Epithelial.
Epithelial is kind of like
Look.
your cheeks, you know, kind of like squamous.
Epithelial, connected muscle,
Right, it's
nerve.
kind of look like this. They all look really, really different. Muscular has a lot of striations in it. Remember, with some nuclei. So that's muscular. Epithelial. What do you think of when you hear nerve?
like neuron.
Like a neuron, kind of like it's sort of like a kite with and it has some, stuff in it, and then there'll be another neuron kind of. So you can't confuse these 4. They're very, very distinct
Okay, good.
looking they're just labeled A, B, C, D. All right. Like they'll have dendrite. They'll have these projections off of them. You know what a nerve cell looks like, right?
Yes.
All right, so it's very different from your muscular, from your very organized, tightly. Epithelial is known for very tightly packed cells, right? Not a whole lot of extracellular space. Okay. And then so your connective tissue is going to be your last one, last type. And that's lots of fibers going every which way with some fibroblast cells. So it sort of is a smattering of fibers and cells. Okay, so that's kind of a rough drawing of mine to illustrate, but you can see they're very, very distinct pictures, right? And they're in color, so you'll be able to tell better. Okay, and then there's a statement that describes one statement for each. So all four of them are used as answers. Okay, so what might you, and they're very general, so what might be a basic general question you might ask for muscular?
Multiple.
Okay, or used for what function?
Contractions.
Like lifting.
Yeah, moving, all right? So if you recognize this, and I don't know what order, you know, I'm not going to tell you what order they're in.
You got it, man. You got it.
A, B, C, just for this point of discussion. So you'd say, okay, which picture above would represent movement patterns, or primary use for movement, muscular. So you identify the muscular PAM, and you put whatever the letter is underneath it on your scan form, okay?
Mm-hmm.
What comes to mind for nervous system? It's nerve.
Senses.
Sensory, something responding to stimuli. Okay, would be your nervous tissue. So look for the cell, you know, that one. What about epithelial? What do we associate with epithelial? Function. Think function. Okay, barrier, absorption, filtration, secretion, those types of things. Right, for epithelial? Like absorption at the small intestine, filtering, you know, with blood, secretion for epithelial glands. So all of those are functions of epithelial tissue. So you recognize which is the picture for epithelium, you put whatever that letter is, A, B, C, D. Okay? And then connective tissue, what are some examples of connective tissue?
Ligaments.
Ligaments. Cartilage, tendons, dense, irregular, loose, irregular, or loose, blood. So is there a wide variety? I mean, so of the ones that are up here on the board, connective tissue offers the biggest variety of functions, or the largest varied amount of functions. Right? So those are your tissue type questions. You're recognizing a visual, and then being establishing a function with the structure. Okay. Again, general. That'd be general descriptions. For the most part, that's tissue. What type? So then, form follows function. So if you were asked a question of what type of tissue would be found in areas where diffusion takes place, which would be where in our body?
In the lungs.
In the lungs, blood vessels, because there's an exchange, small intestine. So what type of epithelial tissue might be like an area where there's a lot of diffusion or exchange of material?
Simple squamous.
Simple, because it's one cell layer, and squamous because they're flat. They don't have to